Rangers rallied off the Rays bullpen to down Tampa Bay 5-3 in the opener of a three-game set. Tonight, the Rays send their ace to the hill as right-hander Chris Archer looks to get the Rays back on the winning track. Tonight we welcome you to Saturday Night Baseball. The Rays and the Rangers in Game 2 of their three-game series from Arlington, Texas. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you aboard as the Rays try to get even with the Texas Rangers, dropping last night's opening game of this lengthy road trip 5-3. And they're going to send Chris Archer to the mound. He's pitched well all year. As we look back at his last 5 games, only one win for him in that stretch, but he very easily could have 4 or 5.
It needs some run support, and he has not had that at all. I mean, one of those games in Chicago, the team went bonkers and scored him a ton of runs. Outside of that, he has had zero support over his last 5 starts, and that's why he has just the one win, despite the fact that he's held the opponents to a 190 average and a 2.18 earned run average. The bottom line is this: for the Rays going forward, they need to win series. To do that here in Texas, you're going to need a big outing here from Chris Archer, because obviously with the loss last night, you need to win tonight. You got the right guy going to the mound, the fastball, the slider. Good luck, Rangers.
2 right-handers in double figures in the win column. Chris Archer with 10 wins. Colby Lewis has 12. He's 3-1 against the Rays in his career. And Chris Archer, who had a substandard outing against the Rangers at Tropicana Field, comes in 1-1 against this Texas ball club. It will be the Rays and the Rangers. Middle game of the series. The Rays start the night 2 games back of the second wild card spot. First pitch right around the corner. Rays saw a 4-game winning streak come to an end last night as they opened this 10-game road trip. And for the Texas Rangers, they've now won 2 straight. They've gotten back to the 500 mark. The Rays a game over, and you can see there the Rays 2 back in the AL wildcard race. Immediately in front of the Rays would be the Baltimore Orioles. They are a game and a half back. Let's take a look at the starting lineup presented by your Southern Ford dealer. John Jaso will lead off. He's the DH tonight, followed by Grady Sizemore in right and Evan Longoria hitting third, playing third. Cleanup man, first baseman James Loney. Logan Forsythe is at second as Drupal Cabrera in his hot bat is at shortstop. Desmond Jennings in left with Kevin Kiermaier in center. Rene Rivera will do the catching and bat ninth.
Taking the mound tonight for the Texas Rangers is going to be right-hander Colby Lewis, making his 24th start of the season. You see, he has 1 complete game. That came his last time out. It was an 8-inning complete game. Took the loss against the Seattle Mariners up in Seattle, but prior to that had won 4 straight. So throwing the ball well, but the Rays should have plenty of opportunities off of Colby Lewis. Not overpowering, and is going to be around the plate all night. Now let's take a quick look at the defense as it's going to line up behind Mr. Lewis tonight, brought to you by BMW. In the outfield left to right, we have Josh Hamilton, Delino DeShields, and Shin-Soo Choo. Across that infield, third to first, Adrian Beltre, Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor, Mitch Moreland, and Chris Jimenez behind the plate.
John Jaso all set to start here against the veteran right-hander Colby Lewis, who just turned 36 earlier this month. So the veteran right-hander coming off a 10-14 season last year when he made 29 starts and had an earned run average of .518, comes in tonight with a .461 ERA, but 7 games over 500. Kevin Cash has the Rays a game over 500. And there is the skipper of this Texas ball club, Jeff Bannister, out of the University of Houston. And he has the Rangers at the break-even point. First pitch of this game presented by Pinch a Penny, and it's a little bit wide, 1 ball and no strikes. The leadoff hitter in games has been a nemesis to Colby Lewis. There's one driven foul up the right side toward the stands. The count is now 1-1. That leadoff hitter, in the 23 starts he has made, the leadoff man has gone 10 for 23 to start a game against Lewis. And he drops a breaking ball in there, something a little different for Jaso to take a look at. You see the curveball a little more against lefties than righties, but not a lot. That's a ground ball, going to be off the glove of Moreland, and the throw to first on the retrieval by Odor, and that gets Jaso. Lewis got over there to cover.
Well, again, you got to break on anything hit to the right side. This ball was hit well by Jay, so you could see the one hop eats Moreland up, but right there is Odor to make the play and feed Colby Lewis, who was covering, and that is out number 1. And that ball was absolutely smoked. But the Rangers in unison where they were supposed to be, and so they make the play.
So it goes 3-4-1. Appeared to have a little top spin that got it past Moreland, who got his mitt on it, and Odor was right there. There's Grady Sizemore. And the first pitch is a strike.
And you can see already early on, Colby Lewis, that fastball 87, 88. You did see the slow curve and a changeup. He'll also use the slider quite a bit, actually.
Fly ball toward the line and left. Hamilton will have to chase over there, and the ball is fouled and bounds into the stands.
Well, and you could see Josh Hamilton, not going full out, gingerly running over to that line. Leg issues for Josh.
Yeah, he missed a couple of games this past week with a sore left knee and was not moving all that well there. Two strikes the count to Sizemore. Sizemore got into the game last night, entered as a pinch hitter, and wound up 0 for 2. In fact, he actually hit into 2 double plays as a pinch hitter. He hit into that first to third double play in the 7th inning last night, and then ended the game on a line drive to second, which resulted in a double play. Jaso doubled off first to end the game. Still a 2-strike count.
And the last 2 pitches, those are the sliders, almost act more like a cutter. And for Colby Lewis, the thing to watch for, he will use the fastball all over the zone. I mean, inside, outside, up, down. But it's the secondary pitches, and sometimes they lack consistency, so that's what to look for. When he has those working, that's when he has his better outings.
1 ball, 2 strikes. As we mentioned, he's 12-5 overall and 5-1 here in Arlington. Although his earned run average in this ballpark is over 5. It's 527 here. Lined into the seats. Take a look at the home road breakout. See 5-1 here, 7-4 on the road, and the hefty ERA at home.
Well, this is one of the top run support guys in all of baseball. His run support almost at 7 per game, per outing. So, you can go out there with a 4.61 and run up a record of 12-5, and you get the kind of support that Colby Lewis has gotten.
How about Sizemore now? He has run this at bat to 7 pitches, down 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes.
And not only does that benefit Grady Sizemore, because he's obviously get to see a lot of different pitches. He's seen the curveball, he's seen the cutter slider, the changeup, the fastball, but the dugout, all the other Rays hitters get to see that up front.
And a foul ball again. And boy, that's especially true with a left-handed hitter like Sizemore up there. For Evan Longoria, who's on deck, he has an up front and close look at all of the pitches from Colby Lewis.
Now, this is one of those leadoff hitter type at bats where you show the dugout and everybody in that Rays lineup all 4 pitches early on.
10th pitch of the at bat, and he's out on strikes. With 10 pitches, and Sizemore is out number 2.
Well, finally he threw a slider that didn't appear to be a cutter. That one had a little bit more depth, and he's able to get it. You see it start its break down and able to sneak it under the swing there of Grady Sizemore for the 2nd out.
Well, we'll see with Evan Longoria on deck watching that 10 pitch at bat as he steps in. He's just 2 for 14 in his career against the veteran right-hander. 1 ball, no strikes. High fly ball down the left field line. That's got some twist to it and is out of play. 1-1.
Now, this Rays lineup has been so much more aggressive versus the fastball. And here's a fastball tonight that he's not going to be able to get by it. That was a breaking ball. Evan way out in front, but the same goes through with the fastball. You're going to have to wait back.
Ground ball, short, gloved by Andrus. Throw to first in time, and the Rays are up and down 1-2-3. Bottom of the first coming up, no score. Take a look at the Rangers lineup presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Delino DeShields, who had a big night last night for Texas, leads it off, followed by Shin-Soo Choo. Prince Fielder is the DH. Adrian Beltre, the cleanup man, hitting in front of Mitch Moreland and Josh Hamilton. Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor hits 8th, and Chris Jimenez, the catcher, bats 9th.
Well, for Chris Archer, the number's outstanding. Look at the ERA, 2.62, 154 and 2/3 innings with 190 strikeouts. That goes for just over 11 per 9 innings, one of the top marks that you'll see in all of baseball.
Yeah, he's second to Chris Sale in strikeouts per 9 innings. And here's DeShields' first pitch. Comes in a little high. 1 ball and no strikes. One and one. So the 26-year-old Archer against the 36-year-old Colby Lewis tonight.
And 2 completely distinct and different styles of pitching.
Interesting about that as well. We've discussed this before. You know, one man's slider is different than the other man's slider, same pitch, but different. And when you look at pitch selection, these guys, a lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders, but 2 distinctly different pitchers.
One mid to upper 90s, the other upper 80s. I'll put it this way. Archer's slider right there at 88 has been Colby Lewis's fastball thus far.
2-1 the count to DeShields. Now 2-2. And a ground ball down to first. Right there is Loney, and he makes the play unassisted.
Well, let's take a look at the Tampa Bay Ray defense, brought to you by BMW. In the outfield left to right, we have Jennings, Kiermaier, and Sizemore. And across that infield, third to first, a normal look, Longoria, Cabrera, Forsythe, and Loney, with Rene Rivera behind the plate.
One away, and here's Shin-Soo Choo, the right fielder. There's a strike on the outer part of the plate. Harry Cooper is working the plate tonight. And through his time in the major leagues, has acquired a good reputation. Fly ball left center field. Jennings leaves his feet, diving for it. It's going to be a double for Choo. And just like that, Texas has a man in scoring position. 23rd double for Choo. That's his first hit against Archer in 6 at-bats.
390 into left center field, and Shin-Soo Choo had to drill that ball. When you think about the ground that can be covered by Kiermaier and Desmond, you see Desmond, he's going to go all out with the dive, but that ball was absolutely drilled into left center field, and it needed to be. Closing quickly, but can't get there in time, and the Rangers with an opportunity in the first.
So with a man in scoring position, Prince Fielder, who leads the American League in hits, hits it on the ground, fair, past Loney and down into the corner. Sizemore will have to go get it. Choo has scored. Fielder's in at second with a double.
You know, Dwayne, this is all happening so quickly, but I think that the way teams, and we saw last night, if this team can hit a fastball the way that they were able to get to Jake McGee, but this is what you have to do. Early fastballs, you have to attack off of Chris Archer. You don't want to get deep in the count because of his ability to put you away, and you don't want to get to the slider. So you want to attack the early fastballs. The Rangers have done that in the last 2 at-bats, and it's accounted for 1 run and another runner out into scoring position.
69th run batted in for Fielder. Here's Adrian Beltre.
That's the answer.
There's the strike on the slider.
That's what you have to do. That's exactly what Archer's going to have to do, is mix in some first pitch sliders to keep this team from hunting heaters.
And he takes the fastball. The count is 0-2. Well, Chu and Fielder with back-to-back doubles. They were combined 0 for 9 against Archer. A run is home for Texas.
Jeez. I mean, you talk about, first of all, Adrian Beltre is never going to cut down on his swing. Second of all, how do you get to this pitch? This ball way up in the zone, and Adrian Beltre, I mean, shoulder high, able to foul it off.
Well, that's how they're looking for the fastball, no matter where it is. We saw Hamilton get up on top of one last night against Jake McGee.
That was absolutely the at-bat of the game, not because of the result of putting the Rangers ahead, but the fact that McGee made the right pitch in the right spot, and Hamilton knew it was coming, and he got up there and he beat him to the spot. That was impressive because that was 97, 98 shoulder high, and that's typically a pitch you can get by Hamilton, but not last night.
1 ball, 2 strikes. One out, a run home. Fielder at second. 1-2 the count on Beltre. And the slider again, and he takes this one. It's 2-2. The last time Archer pitched against this team was at the Trop on May the 7th. He gave up 5 runs in 3 1/3. Out to short. Cabrera makes the play in a routine fashion. Beltre's the second out. Fielder still at second.
Now they're going to have to deal with another dangerous hitter here with Mitch Moreland, and a big reason why, and it's kind of what hurt Chris Archer his last time out. We had that second inning where he walked 4 hitters in 1 inning, recovered nicely after that and pitched well, but a couple of instances where the command has left Chris Archer.
Yeah, they sent 9 men to the plate when they scored 4 of the 5 runs he allowed. Pitch is down. A ball, no strikes. Moreland having a great year. In fact, he is 7th in the league in hitting against right-handed pitching. That's a .306 mark. And he leads this team in slugging percentage. 2-0. Cup and a miss. 2-1.
I don't think that Mitch Moreland was expecting the 2-0 slider, but that's something that we've seen Chris Archer do a lot this year. The slider behind in the count, and I'm not talking just behind 1-0, but 2-0, 3-1. Not afraid to use that pitch in any count.
Well, his slider percentage overall starting to push 40%. So it's in play a lot.
Well, yeah, he's closing in, especially when, there was a time a couple of starts ago where when he was behind in the count, it was a coin flip. It was, the percent of fastballs and sliders was about the same, and then sprinkle in a couple of changeups. But he has really upped the usage of that pitch.
And the count goes full, and there's it on 3-1.
Well, we saw it 2-0. We saw it on 2-1. We saw it on 3-1. And now here you are, 3-2. You could go with another one right here, but you could also sneak a fastball in there. This is where you start to wonder, is Moreland off the fastball now or not? And if you don't think he is, then you go with another slider. Too dangerous of a hitter.
And it's an interesting call with him. Some hitters are more aggressive than others, and he can be patient up there.
Well, he's worked himself right into a full count, no doubt. See some pitches.
And there's ball 4. The fastball missed down.
And when you miss a fastball, Chris Archer, who's got good command for a power pitcher, when you miss a fastball like that, you wonder about the mind. Was there conviction with that pitch? He almost threw that pitch like, yeah, I'm going to throw the fastball, but I'm not really sure. And he just kind of yanked that one. It was a non-competitive pitch right into the dirt. And you typically don't see Archer with the fastball in the dirt.
The hitter is Josh Hamilton. Delivered the big sacrifice fly last night. Takes ball 1 down.
If you'll remember, though, that last start against the Mets with all 4 walks in that second inning, it was the fastball starting to be pulled glove side like the last 2 have been.
Chop toward third. Longoria steps on the bag for the force, and that'll retire the side. 1 run home for Texas, 1-0 through 1. To you by Toyota. Let's go places. By Circle K. Get your favorite size Polar Pop all summer long for just 69 cents. And by Morgan Auto Group. Megan Morgan, we make it happen. And a good stop for footwear here. Good selection of boots.
I see you're rocking a pair.
And here's James Loney after the first pitch, skies it into center, and DeShields is right there.
If you ever came to the booth without cowboy boots on, I don't know if I could handle it. There's certain things in life that you come to expect, and if you're thrown out of that loop, you come up here in a pair of Vans, and it's over. It's over. You're doing that game solo. So next time you want to do a game solo, you come up here in Vans.
I'll have to pick one of those days that you take off. Here's Logan Forsythe.
Poor Todd.
I'm just going to tell you that a day without Boots and BA, I'm not sure that it would be worth it to lose both.
If I'm anywhere in remotely the same category or the same area code as the Cowboy Boots, because I know how you feel about the Cowboy Boots, I'm very touched and honored right now.
A lot of chemistry going on here. 2 strikes the count on Logan Forsythe. The Rays trying to put together a little chemistry against Colby Lewis here. Down 1-0. Pitch is down, and it's a ball and 2 strikes.
You feel that the way that Colby Lewis will give up base runners and runs, and the way that the Rays have been swinging the bats, they're going to have opportunities.
Strike 3 called. Forsythe, second strikeout for Lewis.
And you know, you don't see that typically from Logan Forsythe. Obviously was looking for something completely different, because this was the slider again, no depth to it at all. That was a hanger. You know, that's the kind of pitch that you tie this ball game up with.
Two up, 2 down. And here's Asdrubal Cabrera, 27 of his last 54. And his average is up to 265. Boy, for the longest, Cabrera was struggling down in the 230s, and he has been torrid.
You know, Dwayne, there was a point in the season where I think in May, maybe even close to June, where he was below 200. He was at 199 at some point, with enough at-bats to where you're like, that's not as Asdrubal Cabrera. I don't know if this is either, but boy, it's sure fun to watch.
Well, you saw that graphic right there. I mean, you hit 500 for a week, it's a big deal. He's starting to push it for a month. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Not quite there that long, but it seems every day he's picking up at least 2 hits.
It's been 9 of the last 10 games. I mean, that is some kind of streak. There you go.
And last night he picked up 3 for 4. And works a full count. Isn't it amazing? I mean, even in this at bat, a full count, you get a hitter as hot as he is, and they see the ball better than they've ever seen it before. And he takes ball 4 on the slider down.
This is a perfect case of being in that zone where the game slows down. And you're right. These balls out of the hand. Look at the recognition. Okay, maybe I'm going to go for it. No, that ball's going to end up out of the zone. It was close. But right now, like you said, Cabrera seeing the ball very, very well.
Desmond Jennings. He takes a slider for a strike. We mentioned briefly about Eric Cooper, who's working the plate, and through the years has come to be regarded as very good when it comes to balls and strikes working the plate. And if he does have his own interpretation of that zone, and most umpires do, there is a tendency sometimes the strike zone will be widened a little bit with right-handed hitters. And that pitch that Cabrera took from the left side just did miss, and in some cases some umpires would have called out a strike down and in to the left-handed hitter. Now there goes Cabrera, and he's going to advance, and that's a heads-up move by Cabrera.
And he never should have been able to move up. That ball was blocked very nicely by Chris Jimenez, but Asdrubal Cabrera, with the Rays as a team, they're aggressive base runners. He does a nice job of blocking this pitch and keeping it very close. But by the time, I think that he just assumed, because I kept that so close, there's no way he's going to go. And Cabrera was like, listen, ball in the dirt, I'm off and running, and he caught Jimenez by surprise.
And another pitch that just missed. Slider, and it's 2-2. Look at that. That is as close as you can be without getting the called strike. Oh, and that strike 3 call Jennings took it out there again and is caught looking this time. Rays leave a man down 1-0. More, and the Tampa RBI program, a member of the Tampa Reviving Baseball and Inner Cities program for 5 years, and now a college baseball player. Julian still finds time to give back to RBI by volunteering as an umpire and coach, cutting grass and working concessions. We raise up for help. How do you raise up? Back to the hill goes Chris Archer. Elvis Andrus will lead it off, and the first pitch is a fastball for a strike. That's an easy 95 right there. Good pitch for strike one.
This is one of those days. These are one of the ballparks that when you get into August, you walk out of the dugout, you look over your pitching coach, and you're like, I'm loose. I'm ready. We can go ahead and start.
Yeah, you show up at the ballpark loose here.
And you know what? You really have to watch yourself in the bullpen. You know, a lot of guys have a routine. Sometimes in weather like this, the fact that you're going to get loose quick and it's so hot out, you want to conserve some energy. You've got to cut that routine down just a little bit. But you're right, Archer looped up here. Good fastball and easy.
Toward the line and right. That's going to fall just foul. Trip Gibson on the call. He went down the right field line to get a good look. And Andrews just missed a hit right there.
And I mean just missed, because when that ball came down, it kind of disappears right close to the chalk. And you see a few inches.
Andrus leading off. He'll be followed by Odor and then Jimenez. Two balls, two strikes. Andrus out on strikes.
That was Elvis Andrus recognizing, oh my gosh, hanging slider. I have to swing. But you can see the swing was late. This is where you throw a pitch, a backup slider, a hanging slider, and you get away with it. You just catch the hitter completely by surprise. You know, he's thinking, oh, this ball's up, and then he's like, wait a minute, it's a hanging slider.
And you just don't see the slider up there from Archer very much at all. I mean, that is a big surprise if you're a hitter and you see one of those up there. And so, as you point out, the mind says you'll never see that again. You have to swing.
And then you go look at the video and you say, I don't ever want to see that swing again.
Odor up here, 1 strike to count to him. And that's a little wide. 1-1. Odor's hitting .272. And he has 8 home runs. Right back over the mound beneath Archer. Boy, a hot shot. And an aggressive turn at first. Odor hangs on.
You're glad a shot like that off the bat of Odor misses the ankles of Chris Archer, because this ball was absolutely smoked.
It's 3 hits for Texas.
And I think that's something that Archer's going to have to do all night. He's going to have to sprinkle in that slider early in counts, first pitch even preferably, because this team's going to be up there looking for early heaters.
It's Chris Jimenez driving this one to dead center, and that's going to get out of here. Jimenez jumps on the first pitch and hits his 2nd home run of the year. So the former Ray makes it 3-0 Texas.
You can see it. You can see the approach. Early heaters. This is the same approach that the Rays took, against Chris Sale, against Syndergaard, against DeGrom. Attack the fastball early from these big power pitchers. Jimenez does there, and boy, he got it out to dead center.
So a single run in the first, 2 runs in the second on the home run. There's a strike to Delino DeShields. DeShields sends one to center. Kiermaier's going to have room as he leaps, approaching the wall to make the catch.
Yeah, and I think that right there, the leap by Kiermaier, I think he didn't know where he was, because he got a good jump on that ball, started to track, and almost started to stutter step like he was closer to the wall than he actually was, and that caused him to have to leap there at the end to make the catch. You can see right here, wondering, just kind of timing it up and churching it up.
Excitement follows him.
Hey, I love it. Splash a little color on this game every now and then.
Well, he's an aggressive player all the way around, and you have to really love that. 1-0 the count on Chu.
Dwayne, you make a great point there. I like the way that he plays. I like the way that he churches things up. Sometimes a little unnecessary jump, and he'll flash it up a little bit, but because of the effort he gives night in and night out, you love it. Someone else does something like that and they're kind of a dog type player, you're like, dude, clean it up. But when he does it, you know that he's busting it every night, all night long. So you know what? Go ahead. Have some fun.
And regardless of what he does, what part of the game it is for him, he's playing full out all the time.
One speed. He only knows one way, and that's great. It's the right way.
3-1. That's skied to the left side. Jennings over, but that is a foul ball. So the count is full on Chu. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts, by the way, brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light, and gives you an idea of just how much of a defensive stalwart he is out there. When you look at all those defenders and where he stacks up in defensive runs saved, Andrelton Simmons, the best shortstop going, and he's got 10 runs over him. And then you get into the outfielders. Who's close? There's strike 3 call to Chu. That'll retire the side. 2 runs on the home run by Jimenez. It's 3-0 Texas. Down by 3, Kiermaier, Rivera, and Jaso against Kobe Lewis. And Kiermaier takes the pitch. He started to shorten up a little bit. Beltre a step or 2 in at third. So strike the count. 0-2. Well, let's take a look at his handiwork last night, Kevin Kiermaier.
Well, I think his defensive run saved made the jump from 27 to 29 with that play. Well timed, up above, over top of the wall. And for a minute there, you thought that may have been the play of the game and the Rays preserving a victory. Turned out not to be, but that's a tremendous play nonetheless.
You know, the other thing we're talking about in the break, he pitches behind a team, a pitching staff that would limit opportunities to make great plays. You know, another pitching staff, he might have all kinds of opportunities to save even more runs. He pops it up here, and Beltre takes care of that. And the fact that the Rays pitching staff's a big strikeout staff doesn't give him as many opportunities, perhaps. Speaking of opportunities, a chance to check in with Emily right here.
Dwayne, you have to think that it's been a tough decision for first-year skipper Kevin Cash, trying to split the playing time between catchers Kirk Casale and Rene Rivera. Rene has been pretty soft-spoken about the whole situation, not getting as much playing time lately. He told me before the game, obviously, I want to see my name in that lineup every single night. But what can I do other than be ready and get this single down the left field line? So both of them have both. I mean, it's hard to compare what Rene's done behind the plate and what Kirk Casale's done at the plate. But Kevin Cash says, I know they both want to play. We just need both of them to play well for the next month and a half, Dwayne.
Yeah, 2 catchers, 1 position. And that's the issue that any manager has to deal with. And while Rivera, for the first few months of the season, basically struggled at the plate, he continued to be an outstanding catcher. And now Casale's come along, does a nice job behind the plate, and as we've seen, flashing some power.
Yeah. I mean, he's absolutely hit some long balls, showed some life offensively. Rene Rivera's actually swung the bat better as of late, and for those 2 guys, it's a matter of staying ready. You never know when your name's going to be called. You don't know what game you're going to play in. I'm sure that Kevin Cash lets them know ahead of time here or there, but you just got to stay prepared.
Rays playing a little catch-up here in the third, down 3-0. 1-1 to count to John Jaso. Ball, 2 strikes. Rays with a runner at first. Rivera, the second base runner for the Rays, their first hit. Count remains a ball, 2 strikes to Jaso.
Like John Jaso, he will battle you up there. Not your prototypical leadoff hitter as far as what you think, what the cookie cutter is, speed, stolen base guy. But boy, he works at bat, has been a good on base percentage hitter throughout his career, and he's been outstanding here for the Rays since coming off the DL.
Up the middle and a base hit into center. Rivera advances to second as Jaso is aboard. Jaso came into this game just 1 for 12 against Lewis, and the way he swung the bat, it's hard to imagine that he could be 1 for 12 against anybody.
I mean, you're right. Make the adjustment. Look at how he stayed right on that curveball. Had seen the pitch previously, and this one he just stays back. He's not fooled. The eyes follow it. He lets the bat go and uses the middle of the field. Outstanding once again. He just has not wavered in his approach one bit.
So the Rays trying to build an inning with men at first and second and 1 out. Trail 3-0, which is why there was a point earlier this year when this club got down 3-0. You felt as if it was going to take a major outburst for them to get back into a game like this. But in the month of August, they're leading the majors in batting average, slugging percentage, on base percentage, and they're averaging about 5.3 runs per game for the month. So the offense has been so different here in August. You get a couple guys on it, you're thinking anything could happen.
You just wonder what inning will they take the lead in.
One and two now to count to Sizemore.
And especially true tonight. Going back to Colby Lewis, the fact that he, like I said, he's going to give up some base runners. He's going to give up some hits. Right now, the Rays have an opportunity. And that's what that dugout offensively is very confident right now and thinking the same thing.
And a long one, but foul down the right side. Good distance, but well foul.
Well, he was able to strike out Grady with a slider that had some depth to it, get it underneath the swing, his first at bat.
That was a 10-pitch at bat, so Sizemore is seeing more pitches from Lewis than anybody tonight. He fouls this one out of play. Well, he's halfway to the 10-pitch at bat right now. We've seen 5 pitches in this matchup.
Seen almost a third of the pitches that Lewis has thrown.
The takedown, 2-2. Texas scored a run in the first. They got 2 in the second inning off Archer. The Rays with a threat in the third. And a full count, so another very good at bat here. 3-2 the count on Sizemore.
And you wonder what Colby Lewis feels good about right here. What pitch do I go with? He's seen them all. He's had a couple of good at bats. Maybe you try to duplicate that slider once again. And Evan Longoria lurking on deck. Big pitch here.
Yeah, this will be the 50th pitch of the night for Lewis. And the 18th pitch to Sizemore.
Well, we're up here wondering what Colby Lewis thinks that he can go with, and I don't know if he's sure. Chris Jimenez getting together with Colby.
And a shot caught by Moreland, a line drive, and they're going to get the double play. Boy, that's hitting into some very tough luck right there. He hit that ball like a bullet, and Moreland makes the leaping catch on it and turns it into a double play. 3-0 Texas. Sunday, August 30th, when the Rays take on the Royals. Kids 14 and under receive a DJ Kitty drawstring bag presented by All Children's Hospital, John Hopkins Medicine, while supplies last. For tickets, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Chris Fielder opens the bottom of the third. Fielder doubled home Chu back in the first inning. This one driven deep right center. Sizemore cuts across. That ball had some trajectory off the bat, but died out there in right center.
You know what? Prince Fielder may want to check that bat. I think it could be hollow. I mean, that ball off the bat looked like trouble. It looked like a gapper into right center field, and you're right. Just must have caught it off the end because it died out there. Sizemore made the play easily.
There's Adrian Beltre. One ball, no strike count. Into right. Sizemore toward the corner. A lot of room, and he makes the catch on this one. 2 up, 2 down in the third as Archer deals with the middle of the Texas lineup. Moreland walked his first time. This pitch is low. Two balls, no strikes. Picks up the zone, 2-1. Chris came into this game 5th in the league in ERA at 2.62, 8th in the league in innings pitched, 3rd in strikeouts, 2nd in strikeouts per 9 innings rate. There's a base hit the other way. That against the shift, and Moreland hit that one to the right of Moreland and into left, or to the right of Longoria, and Moreland is aboard.
He went with the changeup. That was another changeup by Chris Archer. Second time through, trying to give these hitters a different look. That ball moving down and away, and Moreland went right with it. Watch this pitch. It's moving down and away, and he just takes it that way.
Here's Josh Hamilton. 1-0. The miss again by Archer. 2-0. Hamilton came back to Texas at the end of April from the Angels. And he let it loose there and missed the fastball. Up 2-0 in the count. Took a big cut. 2-1 now.
And that look had the look and the smell and the feel of a predetermined swing. 2-0. If I get the fastball, I'm going to swing. That ball was nowhere near the strike zone, nowhere near a pitch that you were going to drive, and it gives a strike to Archer.
Trying to play the other way. 2-2.
Now you go ahead and throw that slider middle of the plate, middle down. You could even bounce it here. Josh Hamilton will expand that zone. And he's seen plenty of the heater so far.
A cut and a miss. Hard slider, and he's out on strikes. Evan Longoria is going to open the 4th inning, followed by Loney and Forsythe. The Rays are down 3-0. Time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo using hashtag #SSDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Longoria fouls the first one back and out of play. 0-2, a piece of that one.
Did you see the look on Evan Longoria's face as he swung and fouled that pitch off? He was like, are you kidding me? You could not have put that on a tee for me any better. And that's all I did was foul off. He was absolutely ticked at himself.
Well, the Rays have had a couple of those tonight. Forsythe back in the second inning. Longoria here in the fourth. And they're still smarting after that line drive off Sizemore's bat that was caught at first and turned into an inning-ending double play. 1-2 now. Two balls, two strikes. The Souvenir holds the count at 2-2. And Longoria is aboard to open the fourth inning.
Well, Lewis was able to jump out ahead of Evan and then ends up with a leadoff walk, and that is something that the Rays can start to push Lewis once again. Did a little bit last inning. It took a heck of a play by Moreland to keep the Rays off the scoreboard.
A strike to James Loney. Pop fly into short right. Chu makes the catch, and that's out number one. It's been a frustrating evening for the Rays here against Lewis so far tonight.
Well, because, you know, he's one of those guys that is not going to wow you with stuff. So the feeling is off the bat. Listen, guys, fastball 87, 89, slider 83. He's going to drop a slow curve every now and then, and he works within the strike zone, doesn't walk a lot of guys. Let's go out and put up some runs. And he's thrown some hittable pitches. The Rays have either taken them or fouled them off. You talk about the line drive. It has been frustrating here in the early going.
Well, a couple of pitches that you think you should hit, you don't, and a couple hard-hit line drives that are turned into outs, including the double play to end the threat in the third. So a little frustrating. One and one.
Well, and we've seen Colby Lewis at times the slider has looked like a cutter. He started to get a little bit more depth with it, and we've seen him change speeds on it, anywhere 3-4 miles an hour difference.
1-2. That pitch disappeared.
It did. And, you know, remember, it was the last at bat with Forsythe where he was caught looking at a hanging slider. That went a little bit more depth, but still, you know, a pitch that you could have hit well.
Yeah, just enough movement on it and not dramatic.
No. No, it's almost, you wonder if Logan is able to pick up that pitch coming out of the hand of Colby Lewis. Or he hasn't picked it up yet.
Lifts it into right. Chu is on the move. Fair ball, and he makes the catch. 2 gone. Two outs with Longoria still at first after the leadoff walk. And as Jubal Cabrera, who walked his first time, will be up second time around for the Rays against Lewis. Rays saw their 4-game winning streak come to an end last night, dropping the opener of this series to the Rangers 5-3. Cabrera waves through the first pitch.
You know, he tried to let that ball get into the zone and hit it to left field. You know, they've got not really a shift, but a shade that you could see right here. And so he let that ball 84 miles an hour off speed, and he tried to let it get into the zone and then slap that ball into left field.
Now he's down 0-2.
And that's what, when we talk about the success that he's had, it's the in-game adjustments. It's the adjustment from at-bat to at-bat. It's the willingness to go with the pitch.
It's really fun to watch a veteran hitter with an idea and then execute that idea. And he's been able to do that during this whole stretch. I mean, you think of hitting, it's such a difficult craft, art, whatever you want to call it. And so often people approach hitting haphazardly. This stretch for him has not been that at all.
Oh, he's been like a surgeon up there, and instead of holding the scalpel, he's got a 34-inch bat.
Oh, and he's called out on strikes. Not happy to end the inning. Rays leave a man. We'll take a look at that one. A called third strike. And it's still 3-0 Texas. Seen the outlaw capture Kiermaier on Saturday, April 29th, when the Rays battle the Royals, and all fans receive a Kevin Kiermaier outlaw action figure presented by Dex Imaging while supplies last. For tickets, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Rays up. Elvis Andrus will open the bottom of the fourth and sends a fly ball into left. Jennings with room, and Dunsman makes the catch. One away. Archer touched for the first inning run, then 2 in the second on the Jimenez home run. Retired the leadoff man in each inning. And coming into the fourth, his first strike ratio was 7 of 15. Odor takes a strike as he shortens on the bat. Strike one. 0-2. Bends him back. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And a cut and a miss. Archer picks up out number 2 and the strikeout.
You know, that's what we've not seen a whole lot from Chris Archer in this game, is overpowering Texas hitters. And he did right there on Odor, a fastball. A big boy fastball.
And with that, he takes over the lead in the American League with 194 strikeouts. Corey Kluber, Chris Sale each with 193.
Well, that's another race to watch the rest of the year, because those 3 have separated themselves.
Jimenez after the first pitch and rolls out to Longoria. A 1-2-3 4th inning. 6 pitches. 3-0 Texas. Brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Checkers, epic meals, epic deals. And by Ford, introducing the all-new Ford F-150, the future of tough.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, Dwayne.
Texas brisket right there.
Come on.
A little bit of Renee's famous barbecue sauce.
Yeah, listen, is there anything better than cow and Renee's barbecue sauce?
No. Oh, what a play. A wide throw. Safe at first on the ball hit by Jennings. Odor got to the ball. Tried to make the off-balance throw, and that's going to be a base hit by Jennings.
Well, the backhand, and you're throwing across your body, and you see he was not able to finish that throw. That is a very tough throw. He's moving towards third base, throwing back towards first. The ball sailed on him a little bit, and the Rays with another leadoff base runner with speed. Time to cash in.
Well, the Rays have the leadoff man on base for the second straight inning, and here's Kevin Kiermaier. Pitch is high, 1-0. Two and 0. At 2-0 count to Kevin Kiermaier. Now he's up 3-0. Boy, the Rays have toyed with putting an inning together, but have not quite been able to do that so far. Kevin Cash looking on with a runner at first. A 3-0 count to Kiermaier. And that's a strike, 3-1.
You get the feeling that this is going to be it. You're at the bottom of the order, leadoff man aboard. Kiermaier with a good count to work with. Very shortly, the Rays will be going through the lineup for the third time.
Ground ball, second. Odor, Andrews, one. First base safe. Boy, the effort, speed, and hustle for Kiermaier beat the backside of that attempted double play.
He's just going to be so difficult to double up Kevin Kiermaier unless he absolutely hits a rocket. This is a two-hopper. Rangers do the best job that they can, but still, Kiermaier out of the box. He gets to top speed about as well as anybody in the game.
So Kiermaier's aboard in this 3-run game, and Rene Rivera, who singled his first time, about to step in. Kiermaier with a lead and a little tapper left side charge by Andrews. Throw to first is in time, and Kiermaier advances to second, where he will be with 2 outs in the top of the order. John Jaso due up. Jaso is 1 for 2 tonight against Colby Lewis. All game in the 5th. It's a foul ball. Rays had a threat in the 3rd inning when Grady Sizemore hit the ball very hard on a line to Moreland. A leaping catch by the Texas first baseman. And he turned it into a double play to get Lewis out of that spot. Now man at second, 2 outs. The count is a ball and a strike to John Jaso. Lewis coming off a loss his last time out on the road in Seattle. Two and one. Gave up 4 runs on 5 hits in 8 innings against the Mariners and lost 4-2. The time before that, he got a win against Houston, and he gave up 10 hits and 7 runs in 6 innings. And Texas won that game 12-9.
That goes back to that run support that he gets. You're not going to very often go out and give up more runs than innings pitched and pick up a win. You'd hope for a no decision in a perfect world, and he gets a win.
A 3-1 count. John Jaso against Lewis. Side. Andrus up with it now. Runner's going to try to score. Throw to the plate. He is safe at the plate. He got the hand in there. And the Rays get a run.
A stolen run is what they did. First of all, Elvis Andrus does a great job of keeping the ball from getting to the outfield. That's number 1. But then there was a little bit of hesitation where Charlie Montoya was sending Kevin Kiermaier because of his speed. A great job. You keep it. He wasn't even to third, but then picks it up The Rangers should have had him. I mean, how in the world does he sneak in there? Well, the ball comes loose, that's why. That ball kind of rattling around, and Chris Gimenez just not able to handle the throw. Boy, what a gift.
So Jaso gets an RBI single, and the Rays get on the board. It hasn't been easy. Sizemore chops it to second. Odor's going to make this play, and the Rays settle for 1 run. The speed of Kiermaier allowing the Rays to score. The fifth. Follow the Rays all season with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At bat up to the moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. Chris Archer out there on the hill. Delino DeShields looks at the first pitch too low. Two balls, no strikes. Archer had made 60 pitches through 4. And he's quickly behind DeShields, 3-0.
Well, you certainly do not want the speed of DeShields on base leading off an inning, so Chris Archer needs to come back right away.
It's a strike, 3-1.
And had a stolen base in last night's game. Should have had 2. Overslid the bag.
And the slider misses, 3-1. DeShields is aboard. Well, he's 19 of 23 now in stolen bases, 5th in the American League in steals.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. Teams running against Chris Archer, it's a coin flip. However, the majority of the stolen bases attempted against Chris Archer have come with left-handed hitters in the batter's box. A little bit of a screen for the catcher, at least something that's close to their throwing arm. This would be the time to send DeShields.
Chu, the hitter. The fastball misses up a little bit, up and away.
Did you see the false start by DeShields? He's down there trying to time up Chris Archer. And that's what that was all about. What would my jump, what would it?
And Archer out of the stretch this time with DeShields was a little quicker to the plate. You know, a couple years ago, Archer did not defend the running game as well. Go back 2 years, only 2 base stealers caught in 18 attempts. This year, it's a break-even proposition.
And when you have a right-handed guy like Chris Archer that can hold the running game to 50%, he's doing a heck of a job. And you know that because teams are sitting back going, what are the chances we're going to put together 3 or 4 hits in an inning off Archer? So guys that can run are going to try to run against a pitcher of Chris Archer's caliber. The fact that they're successful only half the time and only 12 attempts is a tribute to Archer.
See what DeShields does here. The pitch is a strike now. It's 2-1 on Shin-Soo Choo. Now.
Well, now you're thinking, do you want to run in this hitter's count or let Choo go to town already with a double the other way?
He's gone. Pitch is high. Throw down. They're going to get it. He is out at second base. Rivera unloaded it in a hurry and made a perfect throw.
Well, and think about this. It's the velocity. That ball got to Rivera quick. That was a slider. But Chris Archer's slider, he throws it 88, 90 miles an hour. And it acted like a pitch out. So this is almost like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball for most pitchers. And it puts Rivera in great position to throw, and you could not have put it in a better spot.
So DeShields caught stealing, and now Choo walked, so he's on his way to first. So they eliminate one runner, and Choo becomes a runner.
Big part of the game right here. Rays are able to cut into the lead. You got a base runner aboard. You've got the heart of the order and a lot of power coming up.
It's Fielder cutting a miss. Ooh, he let it go and missed the slider. 0-2.
Well, it's been back-to-back breaking balls. Look at that pitch. Starting at the belt, ending at the shins.
In on him, and a little popper into shallow left will fall for a base hit. Mid-90s fastball in on him, and Fielder just enough to drop it into short left.
You know, as a pitcher, what are you trying to do? You're trying to mess with the timing of a hitter and get poor contact. Well, this is what Archer does. He eats him up with the fastball in after the breaking balls. But Prince Fielder is still strong enough to be able to fist that ball out into left field and drop it in front of Jennings. Frustrating base hit given up there by Chris Archer.
Now he faces Adrian Beltre, who is grounded out and hit a fly ball up the right field line. Caught by Sizemore, 0 for 2. It's a strike. Broken bat, the pop fly into left. Here comes Jennings, still on the move, and he makes the catch. Fortunately, enough hang time on that one.
Yeah, that ball was up there long enough. You thought that that play would be made a little bit easier. So let's take a look where everybody's located. This ball way up there. First, initially, Desmond Jennings started to break back into his left, and that will add to the amount of ground that he's got to cover to get there. And fortunately for the Rays, he did.
2 outs with runners at first and second. Here's Mitch Moreland. Moreland has been on twice, He has walked and is singled. Pitch low, 1-0. The Rays started the day 2 back in the wild card. The Yankees have beaten the Blue Jays 4-1. That's a strike, 1-1. Kansas City has a 7-1 lead in the bottom of the 6th inning over the Angels. That game in Kansas City. That's a strike at the knees. 1-2. We'll kind of take a look at that updated wild card. See the Rays chasing Baltimore and ultimately the Angels for that 2nd spot. We mentioned the Angels down right now in their game. The Orioles home against Oakland. That game tied 3-3 in the bottom of the 8th, and a save by Rivera. 2-2. Baltimore has won that game 4-3 over the A's. Tap right side. Loney grabs it and steps on the bag. 2 men left for Texas. We go to the 6th. Rays down 3-1. Game in the 1st inning on back-to-back doubles by Chu and Fielder. They struck for 2 more on the first pitch to Chris Jimenez in the 2nd when he homered a 2-run shot. The Rays finally got on the board on this J-Cell base hit and the daring base running of Kevin Kiermaier. That makes it a 3-1 game going into the 6th. And the first pitch to Evan Longoria is a strike. Evan 0 for 1. He walked in the 4th. And now quickly behind Colby Lewis, 0-2. Upstairs he goes. 1-2.
Well, you got to believe the breaking ball's coming here, probably down and away. Actually, they're going to maybe go with the heater. That's just trying to get too tricky there.
2-2. now the count is full.
You know, how many times has Colby Lewis done this? He's jumped out, been aggressive, get out ahead of a guy 0-2, and then all of a sudden start to get tricky and nibble and work himself to a full count.
Longoria pops this one into short center, and DeShields makes the catch. Had a couple of those tonight for Longoria. One out in the 6th inning. And we'll check in with Emily Austin again. Emily?
Dwayne, more good news for the Rays. Drew Smyly will be off the DL and on the mound for the Rays tomorrow, making the start in the series finale against the Rangers. I was talking with him before the game. He said the most difficult part about this process has been staying patient. I think he used the words anxious, ready, and excited 5 or 6 times in the interview. As far as expectations go, well, he's made 4 rehab starts this DL stint. He got his pitch count up to 94 pitches last start. They're the same. And as far as Kevin Cash, it seems like he's on the same page. It's not like a Matt Moore situation where he's had to start from, you know, the bottom and hasn't gone as far back in his rehab as that he pitched in the majors this season as well as last season. Dwayne?
Well, it'll be Smyly tomorrow on the mound for the Rays, and the way it's stacking up here in this series, it'll be a big start not only for Smyly but for the Rays collectively. 1-1 the count on James Loney. The count is 2-1. Longoria the first out, Loney up in the count. And right back into center field, a base hit for James Loney. Well, the Rays have had runners in every inning except the first. And they managed to score just the single run.
Well, you get that feeling that Jeff Bannister would love to squeeze another couple outs out of Colby Lewis, because it's been a high wire act. The Rays have had opportunities, have not been able to cash in, save for that 1 run.
Forsythe pulling off the pitch, strike 1.
And he continues to struggle with the Colby Lewis slider as Freeman gets up and gets to work.
One ball, 1 strike. It's 2-1. And he did go. He tried to check on that one, and I think Forsythe thought maybe he did, but that was Eric Cooper, the plate umpire, making the call on that one, and he did go around.
Yeah, and it was another breaking ball. You know, for whatever reason, that ball out of the hand of Colby Lewis is giving Logan Forsythe fits right now. He has not had a good swing at that pitch yet. And so if you're Colby Lewis, you got to go right back to it.
Fly ball back into left center field. DeShields on the run. He's going to make the catch at the track. And back to first goes Loney. Well, Forsythe trying to wish that one a little deeper. And he's out number 2 on the catch by DeShields.
Well, he finally was able to measure one up. That was not a very good delivery here by Lewis. Another hanger. And Logan Forsythe able to barrel it, but not quite enough. And DeShields able to run it down. Boy, it's been that kind of the night so far for the Rays offense. So close to being able to put some big things together, and just not able to do so as of yet.
Well, you get the feeling they've been on the verge all night, just can't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's, you know, you say something like that, and you're thinking, well, they've had to have scored more than one run, but that's it, 1 run. But boy, they have, you're right. Leadoff men aboard, runners on, balls hit hard.
And to strike the count to Cabrera. He walked in the second, out on strikes in the fourth. That will be out of play. And will advance the count to 0-2. Rays with men on tonight, not in scoring position, but men on. 2 for 10. Foul ball, same spot, out of play.
And rarely have we seen Asdrubal Cabrera going out of the strike zone, but there was another instance of a hanging breaking ball. You feel like you almost have to swing at it. And that puts him in the hole at 0-2.
Lewis on the verge of pitch number 100. Look out off the front of the Texas dugout. This will be the 20th pitch of the inning for Lewis. He's averaged a little over 15 pitches an inning for the year. Number, and that's foul. Orioles scored a run in the bottom of the ninth, beat Oakland 4-3. The Red Sox scored a lot of runs again today on the Mariners, and they beat King Felix 22-10.
You sure that wasn't preseason football?
It's unbelievable. Hard to imagine. Pitch is down 1-2. 22 runs for Boston. 10 of those off Felix Hernandez.
Well, Tom Brady, he played one series, drove the team down for a touchdown, but Garoppolo played pretty well too.
$22 runs, 26 hits for the Red Sox. You score 10 runs, get 13 hits the way the Mariners did. You think you might win, but they lost. Cabrera held up.
I think it's just a Seattle thing, Dwayne, because they give up 22 to Boston today, and the Seahawks gave up 22 last night to the Broncos. So not a very good weekend for
the Mariners
Seattle.
give up the night before? 15, I think, to Boston. And this one popped third base side. That's going to go foul. An extended at bat for Cabrera. King Felix pitched 2 1/3 innings, gave up 10 runs, 12 hits. He got through the first, gave up 3 hits, but no runs. So in an inning and a third, he gave up 10 runs. This will be the 9th pitch of this at bat. And a foul ball. He got just a piece of it. So that will extend it to at least 10. Loney at first, 2 outs. And another foul ball. So already a 10-pitch at bat. So another extended at bat here against Lewis. And Cabrera takes one low. So he got behind in the count. Now 11 pitches in. He goes to 3-2.
Yeah, and a little slide step. Trying to catch Cabrera by surprise here. That fastball right down at the bottom of the zone. No call by Cooper. Loney off and running. And here we go.
The 3-2 again. And he fouls this one.
Do you think that Jeff Bannister is somewhere in that dugout, has his fingers crossed?
Anything that can be crossed is.
Yeah. I mean, just hoping beyond hope that Colby Lewis can get out of this inning facing a very hot hitter in Asdrubal Cabrera, who's seen a ton of pitches.
And a foul ball again. So it continues.
If I'm Colby Lewis right here, the way that Asdrubal Cabrera is swinging the bat, the way he's fouling these pitches off, I would go right back to that slow curveball. Try to mess with the timing. Because you just get the feeling that anything else, Cabrera is going to put a good swing on, and he's going to hit the ball very hard somewhere.
The 14th pitch of this at bat on its way, and we're going to see another one. So this at bat will go at least 15 pitches. He went 15 pitches to the first 3 hitters. And this will be number 15 to Asdrubal Cabrera. And a liner into right field. It's going to be caught by Chu. It started to sink on him as Chu approached it and made the catch. A 15-pitch at bat, still 3-1. Presented by Geico on this day in 2012, Rays were victimized. The 23rd perfect game in Major League history, courtesy of Felix Hernandez. King Felix struck out 12 Rays, and the Mariners beat the Rays 1-0 in that perfect game. How about that? On the anniversary of that, he gave up all those runs, 10 runs today, in their 22-10 loss to Boston. Josh Hamilton up here. One strike to count. One and one. It's a ball, 2 strikes. Archer touched for a run in the first and 2 runs in the second. And a third diving stop, Longoria, and the 2-hopper to first base off the mark, and Hamilton has an infield hit. Longoria had to make a diving stop on that one and scrambling to get a throw away. Hamilton has a hit.
Well, with 2 strikes, Josh Hamilton tried to do anything to get aboard. And he takes his pitch down and away, tries to slap it the other way. Evan Longoria out of the crouch, a dive to his left. Able to get that ball rather quickly. No time to get up, just turn and throw, and it's a little bit wide.
Leadoff hitter on for the second straight inning for Texas. Here's Elvis Andrus. A little close to him, moves him back. 1-0.
How did that ball not track in and hit Elvis Andrus? This fastball by Chris Archer, way up and in. You see it right here, the way that he just able to bend out of the way.
And a drive back into left. Jennings will go to the wall, and it's going to bound off the scoreboard wall. Extra bases. Hamilton goes to third. It's a double for Andrews, and now a serious threat underway by Texas.
You think about that fastball up and in, opening the outer half of the plate up for Chris Archer, but he elects to come back in, and Andrus was waiting for it. Boy, did he get out in front of that, around that fastball. Almost got it out of here.
Well, coming into this game, these 2 hitters, Hamilton and Andrus, had as much success as anybody in this lineup, and they have opened the 6th with an infield single and a double off the wall. And here's the second baseman, Rougned Odor.
Infield in for the Rays. Can't afford any more Texas runs.
And a tap to third. There will be a play at the plate, and Hamilton is out there. So Hamilton coming down the line, and he is out. Longoria to Rivera.
Well, that was easy for the Rays. Infield in, and Hamilton, after the secondary lead, is going to go on contact. And just a chopper to Evan. Hey, this is just too easy, cutting down this run. Right off the end of the bat.
So it's first and third. Here's Jimenez, who is the difference in the game right now with a 2-run home run back in the second. He has seen 2 pitches tonight. He hit one out to center field in the second and went out third to first in the fourth. And he's showing the bunt here, first and third. Here's that home run. 413 feet the tracker on that.
Well, that Ranger lineup was hunting first pitch fastballs. Jimenez got one, and he blasted it out for a 2-run homer. And right here trying to get another run in. The Rays would love to see him hit the ball on the ground. Chris Archer been pretty good at getting ground balls. Love to get another one here. Get a double play, get out of this inning.
Foul ball at his feet. 1-1. Kevin Cash and Jim Hickey looking on from the Rays dugout. First and third with one man out. Kirby Yates throwing in the bullpen. Runner breaks off first and a base hit. Line into left center. One run is in. Odor will be stopped at third, making the turn. And Texas again up by 3. It's 4-1. Jimenez has driven in 3 of the 4 runs.
Well, the runner's in motion. The slider by Chris Archer is hung, and Jimenez just able to shorten the stroke and line that ball out into left center field. That's going to easily score the run, and Odor's going to get over to third, and everybody will just exchange positions, first and third once again.
Top of the order, Delino DeShields. Still first and third. It's a strike. Kansas City leading the Angels in the top of the ninth at Kansas City 9-4. Misses to DeShields, now 1-1. See where that pitch was. Well, Cooper has been very, very strict with that zone tonight. Nice ball by him. 1-2. Texas with a run home in the 6th. Little flare into right center. That's going to fall for a base hit. Odor scores. DeShields drives in the run to make it 5-1. Shields has got his bat on the ball and drops it into short right center.
Well, that's all he's trying to do. Down in the count, 1-2. And you know that Chris Archer can put you away. He comes with another breaking ball. This one stays up, but it's off the plate. And DeShields, look at him, just poke it. Just put the ball in play, give yourself a chance, and he floats it into right field.
Shin-Soo Choo. This ball in. It's a 4-hit inning. 2 runs have scored. The Rays now trail 5-1. It's a 1-1 count. Blocked by Rivera. Scrambling to find the location of that ball as he blocked it.
And that ball was almost able to sneak between his legs. Rene Rivera is so good at blocking pitches in the dirt. Lost sight of that one for a second.
base hit off the fastball. Throw comes to the plate, not in time. Jimenez scores. It's 6-1. Chu took the fastball right back through the middle.
Well, here it is, driving it down, but it stays middle down, and Chu able to take that ball right back up the middle. Kevin Kiermaier, you're thinking maybe he's got a chance here, but that ball with a couple of bounces slows up in the grass, and Jimenez able to slide in.
That'll be the end of the night for Chris Archer, down 6-1. Almost earlier in the game, we've selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag #SSDataStrongFan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Man's best friend.
If you say so.
Chris Archer in the Rays dugout after 5 1/3, 11 hits, 6 runs. A couple of men on as he leaves. He struck out 4 and walked 3. Here's Prince Fielder. Fielder 2 for 3 tonight. Takes the pitch inside. Fielder doubled in the first run of the game back in the first. These two teams have gone to the bullpen a lot. The Rays top the American League in bullpen innings. And you can see right there the Rangers in the top 5 in bullpen innings. Runners on the move. Throw to third. Safe there. DeShields safely in at third on the double steal. Chu follows into second. So the 20th stolen base of the year for DeShields, the 3rd for Chu.
Rivera did not have a shot. You could see the jump by both base runners. DeShields easily getting to 3rd. I mean, Rivera was up and out of there, a good strong throw, and you could see just absolutely no chance because of the jump by DeShields.
So what is a 6-1 game? The Rangers put both men into scoring position, pulling off the double steal. Did he go down and in, and there's a check. 2-2. One run in the first, 2 runs in the second, and a 3-run inning here in the 6th with a threat to get more. Tapper toward the mound, throw to the plate, and Yates throws it away. So DeShields scores. Chu winds up at 3rd, and fielder reaches on the throwing error.
They'll start coming apart for the Rays here. A little chopper off the bat, and watch Kirby Yates. Gonna have to make the inside turn and throw, and boy, just drops the elbow, and the ball just sails. Not the easiest throw to make, but he was at point blank range. That elbow drop, the ball went awry. And this is getting ugly.
7-1 now. Adrian Beltre is the 8th Texas hitter of the inning. Ball, no strikes. Into deep left. Jennings will look up, and that one is in the bullpen and gone. Beltre connects on a 3-run blast. His 10th home run of the year. That makes it 10-1. 8 of those charged to Archer.
That ball stayed same plane, came right across the strike zone, right into the swing of Adrian Beltre, a back foot hitter that absolutely drilled that ball out into left center field, and now the Rangers have made this a laugher.
And here is Mitch Moreland. Moreland has walked, singled, and grounded out. 9th man to come to the plate for Texas in the inning. This pitch is a strike. One and one. It's 405 career home runs for Beltre. And he matches Miguel Cabrera. And it leaves him just 2 behind Duke Snider, who had 407 in his career. A 2-1 count. Two and two the count on Moreland. Into center field. That will fall for a base hit. And Moreland is aboard for the 3rd time. That is 2nd hit.
Rangers showing absolutely no signs here of letting up. And this is a team that has been playing very well at home recently.
Yeah, they came in under 500 at home tonight, 24-29, but it's been a different story, as you reference, lately. They're going to change, by the way, the error on the ball hit by Fielder. They're going to take that away. They're going to rule that it's a fielder's choice, which in this case gives Fielder a run batted in.
Nice to play at home.
Yes, it is. One strike to count on Josh Hamilton. Still, that's a cut and a miss. 0-2. There's one out here in this inning. He's facing his fourth hitter. And a 1-2, 425 feet on the home run hit by Beltre. Hamilton goes down as he tried to check, and he is out on strikes. So Hamilton becomes the second out of the inning, and here it is.
Well, I don't think he went either. Rays, I think, got a break there. You could see he definitely held up on the swing, but
and Hamilton has had that left knee issue, and boy, you can see it in evidence there. He was trying to check the swing. Elvis Andrus. It's a strike. Andrus, the 11th hitter to come to the plate. One and one. So right now the RBI breakout. DeShields one, Chu has one, Fielder now two, Beltre three, and Jimenez three. The strike. It's 1-2. Texas breaking this open. Every Ranger in the lineup has at least one hit now. 1-2 the count on Andrus. They have 7 hits in this inning alone.
When you start to look at this lineup, DeShields with his speed at the top, Chu an accomplished hitter, Fielder having a great year, Beltre always dangerous, Moreland having a great year, Hamilton, I mean, right down the list. You know, this is a team runs per game. They're 3rd in the American League, so they're capable. They got loose here tonight.
Into center field. Kiermaier makes the catch to retire the side. And a big inning for Texas. And at the end of 6, it's 10-1. Tonight in Arlington. Here's what's coming up tomorrow on Rays Live, the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Drew Smiley will come off the disabled list after the rehab assignment. He'll do the pitching, and we'll hear from him. And Orestes will break down Desmond Jennings. Well, a very big sixth inning, a 7-run frame for Texas to break this one open. And Hamilton leaves. He started the night in left, and Ryan Strasburger is the new left fielder. Spencer Patton will take over on the mound. 6 innings for Lewis tonight, and now it's Patton.
Patton on for the 23rd time. He's got 25 strikeouts in 22 innings, but you see the ERA at 6.95, capable of giving up some runs, and that's what the Rays need right here. 3 more at-bats. They're down 9. Tall order, but see if they can give him a finish.
Now Daniel Nava will open the 7th inning hitting for Jennings. And Patton delivers too low. 1 ball, no strikes. Brandon Guyer is on deck. Patton throws a strike to Nava. So Guyer preparing to hit for Kiermaier. Line drive into center, and that's going to fall for a base hit. And Nava opens the inning with a single. Now Brandon Guyer. His first pitch, Guyer in there, and he takes a strike. Two of the day game tomorrow, and the Rays down 10-1 in the 7th inning. Jennings now out of the game, and Kiermaier lifted as well. Guyer punches it into right for a base hit. Nava's going to make the turn and hold at second. And the first 2 men are aboard here for the Rays against Spencer Patton.
Well, Spencer Patton, that ERA just under 7. So the Rays, could get some opportunities and cash in where they could not against Colby Lewis. Boy, what a frustrating night against Colby Lewis. 6 innings, he gave up just 1 run. And here the Rays, 2 hitters into Patton. Two runners aboard. See what happens. Make this very, very interesting. Because if they don't come back and win this game, you talk about tomorrow. They need badly. But here's the thing. The Rangers just struck for 7 out of nowhere. Why not? I mean, the Rays would be due based on the way that this game has gone.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities early where you kept thinking the Rays would build an inning against Lewis. It really never materialized. They settled for a run on 5 hits off him. Here's Rene Rivera. Strike 1.
You look at his final line, 6 innings, 1 run, but that's one of the softest 6 innings, 1-run outings that you'll see. It just seemed like at any time the Rays could blow it open. And at times they gave themselves chances. They ended a couple of innings with absolute rockets that Rangers players are able to track down. One for a double play with Moreland. That at bat by Cabrera, a rocket out into right field. Chu makes a catch at the ankles.
Rene Rivera getting a start behind the plate, singled his first time. 1 for 2 on the evening. And takes strike 3. And Rivera backing away from the plate. Caught looking, first out of the inning.
A fastball right there on the inside corner. And it just freezes Rene Rivera.
John Jaso drove in a run in the 5th inning. 2 hits on the night, 2 for 3. Into the screen. Tampa opened with a pinch hit single. Geyer followed with a pinch hit base hit. Now 1 out. Jaso the hitter. It's 2-1. Patton has struggled here. That runs the count to 3 balls and a strike. A good stop by Jimenez. Patton took a walk-off loss in his last outing. That was Tuesday against the Twins in Minnesota. And that pitch just missed. That should be ball 4, and Jaso finally reminded of that by Barry Cooper. So he'll go to first, and the bases are going to be loaded. There for a while, I thought Jaso was just going to say, I'd rather get another pitch, see if I could put it into play.
He may have just been in a fog.
So the bases are loaded with 1 out, and they're going to make a pitching change. Patton will depart. game tonight and all season long. Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Texas Rangers make a pitching change. They have the left-hander Jake Diekman coming on. He follows Lewis and Patton. Grady Sizemore is due up, but the Rays will call upon Richie Schaefer to hit. And we're getting an update now that the official score is going to make yet another change on that play in the bottom of the 6th inning, and it's going to go back to an error on Yates. Schaefer pinch hitting, takes the pitch down, 1-0.
Are you going to write it back in, or are we going to wait?
Well,
maybe he changes his mind again.
Here's what they're doing. The crowd is 32,351 tonight, and they're polling them individually as to whether they thought that should be a hit or an error or a fielder's choice. And so as soon as the voting is done, we'll let you know for sure.
When do the polls close?
Various times at various parts of the ballpark. But don't worry, the election will be legitimate.
No hanging chads
or curveballs. A little foul ball.
Yeah, you could use a hanging breaking ball right here. Make this game interesting.
Yep. 1-2 now. The count to Schaefer. Rays have loaded the bases with 1 out in the 7th. Schaefer against Diekman. Well, Diekman stepping back, Schaefer stepping out. It's 10-1.
Well, Schaefer's been up there so long that his gum lost its flavor. He threw that out.
Put it on the bedpost.
That's not a bad idea. Always seems to pick up flavor when you go back to it in the morning. It does.
2-2. Yeah, the quality of gum is better than it used to. It used to lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight. Apparently no longer.
No, only fruit stripe. Fruit stripe stays fruity for like 3 to 5 seconds.
Swing and a miss. A big cut by Schaefer. Well, Diekman got that up there around 97, and Schaefer took a big cut, comes up empty.
Well, Diekman, you know, he does have the big-time fastball, lanky lefty, that 3/4 arm slot. Boy, does he really whip that ball in there and is able to get it up above the swing. Richie Schaefer, a big swing, at times can get to be a long swing, and that one comes up empty.
2 gone. Evan Longoria will bat against the lefty. Ground ball and a base hit through the hole. Nava will score. Also scoring is Geyer, and the Rays get 2. Jaso stops at second. So Longoria driving in a couple of runs, and it's 10-3. The runs charged to Pat.
They're not wasting any time. You see a fastball, hit a fastball, and Evan hit that ball hard, finds a hole on the left side, and the Rays eat into the lead.
James Loney hitting against the lefty. Breaking ball misses.
I'm going to tell you what, James Loney has moved up on the plate. He is right on top of the dish here against Diekman. I mean, look how close he's gotten to the plate. I mean, his hands are almost over the inner edge.
Into the dirt. Blocked by Jimenez. 2-0.
Well, he's got the idea that Diekman is going to work him away on the outer half, the outside corner. So moving up in the box, he's trying to make that the middle of the plate, force anything away from him off the plate as a ball. And if he wants to go to that outside corner, well, that's almost right down the middle. Take a rip.
It's a strike now, 2-1.
He started that one on the inner half and broke it down and in. May have started that ball even a little bit off the plate. I don't think I've ever seen James Loney that close to home plate.
Cut and a miss and wandering off the bag, Longoria, and he's going to be out. Longoria wandering off the bag. Going to get away from him. And he is out trying to get back into first. And that will retire the Rays here in the seventh. It's been that kind of night.
Well, here's the throw. Moreland sneaks in behind him. Evan trying to get that right hand in there, that tag to the chest. And just wonder what Evan was thinking in the first place, being caught that far off.
For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com and buy your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Well, we move into the bottom of the seventh inning. Evan Longoria caught wandering away from the bag at first, and Moreland put the tag on him down there in the inning, and the Rays, we had a couple of men on, lose Longoria to end it, so they leave one on and score a couple runs in the seventh inning in what is now a 10-3 ball game. The Rays have been out hit 13-8, and we'll have to check all of those to make sure, because that error one and a single and back to an error one will affect all of that. What it does Archer, who gave up 8 runs, and for a time they were all earned. 7 of those runs will be earned. Tim Beckham, who was on deck waiting to hit for Forsythe, will now enter the game at second base anyway. Nava's in there and left. Brandon Geyer's in center field. And Schaefer's going to be in right after hitting for Sizemore. There's the rookie, Richie Schaefer, out there in right field. Kirby Yates back to the hill in the bottom of the 7th inning with Odor to lead it off. The pitch is outside, 1-0. Schaefer in right field. First time he has played right field in his professional career. 1-1 to count.
Well, then go ahead and pencil him in for this ball coming right at him.
Yeah, that's pretty much guaranteed.
He's going to get tested right now.
That's a strike. 1-2. Texas sent 11 men to the plate, scored 7 times in the 6th. Two and two. Archer gave up a home run. Yates surrendered a home run. And the count is full on Odor.
Well, Kirby Yates, the last couple of pitches, he's just spinning off. You could see him really opening up, spinning off towards first base, that arm flying open. Ball's staying up and away. Going to drive that ball to its spot, front shoulder closed, and that's 3 in a row now.
And he walks Odor.
You know, that's what you want to do. No matter where your arm slot is, you want that front shoulder, eyes on the target. You almost want to put that front shoulder right into the mitt. Keep that thing closed as long as you can. When that front shoulder starts to fly open, the hip follows, the arm drags, and you're going to be all over the place. And that's what led to that walk right there.
Chris Jimenez. Jimenez hit the ball 413 feet to center field, his second home run of the year. Two and 0. Fly ball into left. Nava under this one makes the catch. It's the first out in the 7th.
Center fielder Delino DeShields.
Now we'll go back around to the top of the Texas order. And Delino DeShields. This is the first time Yates has been out there since the 4th of August, so it's the 11th day for him. He got an inning in against the White Sox when the Rays beat Chicago 11-3. They trailed tonight 10-3.
Well, that was that game against Chris Sale, Chris Archer, Chris Sale matchup where the Rays were able to blow it open against the White Sox starter and the bullpen. But it's tough. It's tough to stay sharp coming out of the bullpen. Number one, when you do get into a ball game, you're not throwing that many innings to begin with, and then you go 11 days without throwing, and you can start to understand a little bit why Kirby Yates right now is off. Not a fun place to be. And you know, how do you stay sharp? That's what you have to do. You've got to find a system. After 2 or 3 days of not getting into a game, you throw a little, a little bullpen down there, a little touch and feel, but you can't overdo it because you may be used the following game. Not easy.
High fly into center. Geyer makes the catch. So 2 gone. Back to first base, Odor, who opened with the walk. To get the very latest news, views, and takes on the Tampa Bay Rays, log on to your Facebook account and like Sun Sports, Fox Sports Florida. Here's Shin-Soo Choo. He's been on 3 times, has scored twice, and has driven home a run. It's a long one to right. That's got the distance and is gone. Two-run home run for the Texas right fielder. Choo's 15th of the season. And it's 12-3.
Well, Choo able to get out and around that baseball. You got a pitcher struggling with command, goes with an off-speed pitch there. Choo not fooled, stays right on it and hooks it into the seats and right.
It's fielder lifting a high fly ball to right. That's caught by Schaefer. 2 runs on the home run. 12-3 Texas. You can see right there on the totals to this point through 7, 12, 14-0 for Texas, 3-8-1 for the Rays. And as an old sage once said, the less said about this one, the better. And we're headed into the 8th. James Loney leads it off. Loney 1 for 3, and he takes the ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Brandon Gomes up in the Rays bullpen. Two balls and a strike. There's Gomes. And Archer and Yates so far. 8 runs off Archer, 7 earned, and 4 off Yates. It's 2-2. Three balls, 2 strikes. And Lewis, Patton, and Diekman for Texas. The ground ball to the right side. Odor takes care of that. Loney is the first out of the 8th. Tim Beckham, who entered to play second base in the bottom of the 7th inning, will hit here in the 8th.
Well, that makes tomorrow's game very, very interesting with Drew Smyly coming back. He's only had 3 starts for the Rays this year, hasn't started a game for them in over 100 days. And, you know, his last rehab start didn't go as well as, you know, you'd like a guy coming back to the big leagues. Just over 4 innings, around 100 pitches. And he's obviously going to be coming up against an offense that's swinging the bats very well. A lot of power.
Yeah, they have been aggressive. Beckham sends it down the right field line toward the corner, and that ball is just foul. Had enough distance, but foul. And strike 3 called. So 2 gone here in the 8th. Well, there's the pitching matchup. The Rays end, as you mentioned, will be Drew Smyly. Yovani Gallardo will be on the mound for Texas, making his 25th start. And from the Rays' perspective, it's going to be interesting to see how effective Smyly can be and how many innings, how many pitches they can get from him.
And I think the feeling with the Rays is the way that they're able to put together game plans for opposing hitters. We've seen how good they are, and they have the pitchers that are able to go out and execute those plans. So with the fact that he was able to get to 94, 95 pitches his last time out, the feeling is, hey, he's healthy. He's up there around 100 pitches. He follows the game plan. He's going to have success. But you're going to have a very good outing from Drew Smyly, too, if you want to get out of here and salvage anything in this very important series, this very important road trip.
Yeah, the last time the Rays faced Gallardo, they beat Texas 8-2. There's one driven into right field. That ball's well tagged. And as Drubal Cabrera has hit it out on an 0-2 pitch, Cabrera hits one out the other way into right field, and the Rays pick up their 4th run of the night.
Well, hot hitter from both sides of the plate, a pitcher on the mound that's supplying a lot of the power, and conditions here at the ballpark where you get it up in the air, it's going to fly. And that's exactly what Cabrera does. That ball away, head down, strong swing. Boy, that is pretty. And in an 0-2 count.
Cabrera's 8th home run of the year.
Well, it'd be nice to score a couple of runs here and get some momentum going, get some good feelings back in that dugout. Because when you get drubbed like this, with a quick turnaround, you had better have a resilient ball club. And I think the Rays do, but that's tough.
1-0 the count to Daniel Nava. Last time Cabrera homered was the back-to-back home run performance by Cabrera and Richie Schaefer. It was in Chicago against the White Sox. They're side by side right now, Schaefer and Cabrera. Two 2-0 the count to Nava. 2-1. We're in the 8th. Nava hit in the 7th and singled. That led to a run. Ground ball, and it gets past Beltre into left. That'll be an error charge to Beltre, his 9th of the year.
And ball stayed down on Adrian Beltre. Should have been the end of the inning. He ranges to his left, and that's exactly what happened. Expecting that ball to come up a hair, does not. Sneaks under the glove, extends the inning. And that extends, you know, Jake Diekman. He's an important part of this Texas bullpen. A bullpen, by the way, that's not very good. When you look at their numbers standing in the American League, pitching has been troublesome.
Yeah, they were last in the American League in the bullpen earned run average. And coming into this series at over 460.
And Diekman obviously playing a big role towards the back end of their bullpen. And here he's pitching in a ball game that's throwing a lot of pitches.
It's Freeman up again in the bullpen.
It's almost as if Bannister just doesn't trust anybody. You know, he brought in Patton. Patton couldn't get it done.
Ground ball toward the hole. It's short. Andrews to Odor for the force at second. Rays get around on the home run by Asdrubal Cabrera. They leave a man, and we go to the bottom of the 8th. Rays trail 12-4.
The solo shot for the Rays in the top of the 8th, but Tampa Bay still trails Texas 12-4 heading into the bottom of the 8th. Be sure to stay with us for Rays Live, the post-game show presented by Checkers. After the game, we'll see what went wrong for the Rays in the 6th inning as we hear from Kevin Cash. in starting pitcher Chris Archer. We'll also check in with Rich and Orestes, so we'll be live in the studio, and then BA and Dwayne, of course, we'll get a little bit of a bit from you as well.
Well, we go into the bottom of the 8th inning. Brandon Gomes on the hill for the Rays. Adrian Beltre leading it off. Beltre hit the 3-run home run in the 6th inning. It's now 1-1. Mike Napoli is on deck. It's Moreland due next, but Napoli out there with the bat. Upstairs, 2-1. Beltre's home run, his 10th of the year, came in the 6th.
That ball stayed flat. It moved back across the plate right into the swing, and that put the capper. That put this game out of reach.
He takes a big cut right there, trying to launch another one, and it's 2-2.
Well, that's as big and as vicious as a swing can get. We're trying to add insult to injury. What's already been a long night for the Rays. And you got a hitter up there swinging like that.
Down to third. Longoria makes that play to retire Beltre. Now Mike Napoli will come on to hit. Moreland had a 2-for-3 night with a walk, 2 singles, and a ground ball to first. Throws him a strike at the knees. Two. Gomes got credit for a third of an inning last night. Came on and picked off Elvis Andrus to end the 8th inning. Didn't throw a pitch. Napoli did go, and he is out on strikes. So Gomes picks up the 2nd out of the inning and his first strikeout.
A split that stays up and moves in. And you get the call.
There's Strasburger. He took over in left for Hamilton. One ball, no strikes. It's 1-1. 2 outs with the bases empty.
You almost don't have room for Strasburger's name on the back of that jersey. It reminds you of the Saltalamacchia. Complete half circle. This is what you're forced to talk about in a game like this.
Yeah, anymore you'd have a horseshoe. And it's 2-2. Texas had a big 6th inning, scoring 7 runs. And the starting pitchers in there, Lewis in line for his 13th win. Archer in line for his 9th loss. A swing and a miss. So it's a 1-2-3-8. We go to the 9th. 12-4 Texas. Tomorrow we'll be with you at 2:30 to begin our coverage on Sun Sports with Drew Smiley coming off the disabled list and his rehab assignment to make the start for the Rays. 3 starts this year, 0-1 with a 270, and that'll be a big start for both the Rays and for Smiley individually, especially with the Rays apparently dropping the first 2 games of this series, down big in this one. And Mike Napoli takes over at first after pinch hitting. So Napoli's at first. And the Rays will see the left-hander Sam Freeman, the 4th pitcher for Texas tonight. Rene Rivera will be the first man to face Freeman. Freeman, over his last 28 games, has whittled his earned run average down from 727 to 279. The pitch is outside, 1-0.
Now that's what's always tough, you know, as a bullpen guy, as a reliever. You have a rough couple of outings early. It takes forever to get that ERA back down because you just don't pitch enough innings. So you have a couple of rough outings and things look ugly. But Freeman's been throwing the ball very well lately, like you pointed out, Dwayne. And really, when you look back at this game right now, the highlight for the Rays is Jake Diekman having to throw an inning plus. That's a bad night. I mean, that is your highlight.
Look out! This one fouled into the seats. So the count is 1-2. Pitch is wide, 2-2. Cut and a miss. Rivera out on strikes for the 2nd time tonight. And here's John Jaso against the lefty. The pitch is a strike. Freeman was in the St. Louis system, and the Cardinals ran out of roster room for him. He was designated for assignment, and they made a deal with Texas. Texas picked him up. A 1-1 count. Ball, 2 strikes.
I think anytime you're a left-handed pitcher, you show the ability to get that fastball 93, 94 miles an hour. You're going to get some opportunities. That is for sure. And this is a Texas Ranger bullpen that we've already pointed out needs help, needs good quality arms.
Into the dirt. The count is 2-2. And for Freeman, it was coming home. He's from the Dallas area, so worked out well for him. He's gotten an opportunity, and over the last stretch of 28 games has certainly taken advantage of it. A 2-ball, 2-strike count. Just a little piece of that one, a foul ball. Lewis worked 6, then Patton, Diekman, and Freeman now. Archer, Yates, and Gomes for the Rays, and the count's going to go full to Jaso. Richie Schaefer is on deck. Swing and a miss. Jaso is out on strikes. 2 gone in the 9th. A couple of strikeouts here by the lefty Freeman.
Right fielder Richie Schaefer.
Two gone, and here is Richie Schaefer. Schaefer pinch hit in the 7th inning and struck out. Now he faces Freeman. Takes a big cut. Strike 1. There's a liner, and it's through into center field, a base hit. Schaefer is aboard with a 2-out single. Giving him 1 for 2 tonight. And the Rays pick up their 10th hit.
Well, this is a bullet here by Schaefer. That fastball, able to get extension and go right back up the middle. Hit hard enough. You see Odor already shading him up there. Good effort by Rubned, but not able to get to it.
Evan Longoria takes the pitch too low. It's 1-0.
Is Rubned the best name? I mean, like, I feel like this is like a Lord of the Rings type of get-together game with a Rubned out there.
Ground ball.
Thank God.
This is going to go down to Rubned. Beltre to Odor, and this game is over. And it's a 12-4 final here as the Rays drop the first 2 games of the series here to the Texas Rangers. For the Rangers, 12-14-1 with 6 left. For the Rays, 4-10-1 with 8 men left. Lewis will get his 13th win. He's 13-5. Archer, the losing pitcher, he is 10-9. Took 3 hours and 10 minutes to play this game before 32,351. So a tough night for Kevin Cash and the Rays as they drop it to Texas 12-4. For Brian Anderson and the rest of our crew, Dwayne Stats, hope you've enjoyed the telecast and not the outcome. Rays and Rangers tomorrow. We'll be with you at 2:30. Rays Live, the post game, presented by Checkers, comes your way next.